当然了。
Zhou Jianqing is a young woman burdened by her family's debt. She works multiple jobs to survive and uses her talent as an artist to secure a position at an animation studio. Unfortunately, her boss exploits her skills by forcing her to copy the work of others. One day, Gu Nanzhou, a wealthy businessman, visits the studio. He quickly discovers the animation is plagiarized and demands the contract be cancelled. To save himself, Jianqing's boss blames her and threatens to fire her. After working tirelessly without recognition, she is furious. Nanzhou refuses to hear her defense. He mocks her and even tramples on her sketch. Pushed to her limit, Jianqing snaps. She grabs his hand, shoves him against the wall, and demands respect. She insists her work is original, accuses him of defamation, and even forces him to transfer money through a QR code. Reluctantly, he complies. From that moment, their fates became inseparably tangled. This is Hello, Mr. Gu. Not long after, Nanzhou learns from his father's will that he must marry the daughter of a close friend. That woman turns out to be Jianqing. Nanzhou chooses to proceed, partly to honor his father and partly because he is intrigued by her. His assistant, Xiao Chuan, also learns that Jianqing is drowning in her late mother's debt, which gives Nanzhou another reason to step in. One night, Jianqing is ambushed by thugs.
就是投其所好，而因为无良债主的真总裁替他赶走。
Nanzhou arrives in a black car and drives them off.
有一天我也能变成救美的巧，这还真有点。
In the heat of the moment, he proposes marriage. Jianqing is shocked and refuses. When he takes off his shirt to cover her with his jacket, she misunderstands his intent, hits him, and runs away.
我只想给你披件衣服。
The next day, Jianqing confides in her best friend, convinced he is a scammer. Soon after, she starts receiving flowers, food, and expensive gifts. Nanzhou even sends bodyguards and a chauffeur, which only embarrasses her further and makes her avoid him. Undeterred, Nanzhou arranges an elaborate public proposal. By coincidence, Jianqing is hired to decorate the event, only to realize the entire setup is meant for her. In front of the crowd, he kneels, presents a ring, and asks her to marry him. Panicked, she accidentally steps on a fireworks button, drawing even more attention, then rejects him. Jianqing makes her stance clear. She wants payment for her work, not a ring. Nanzhou gives her money, but when he pulls her close, she resists and stomps on his foot. Frustrated, he vents his anger at Xiao Chuan, who quickly suggests a new plan. The next day, Nanzhou sends Jianqing a pile of luxury bags and shoes as an apology. She is furious and storms into his office, demanding he take them back. He agrees, but only on the condition that she marry him. Shocked, Jianqing pushes him away. They both stumble onto the couch, creating a scene in front of the staff. In the confusion, Nanzhou faints. He has suffered from a childhood condition that causes him to collapse in crowded places. His assistant, Xiao Chuan, quickly rushes him to the hospital. Jianqing feels guilty, but instead of accepting her apology, Nanzhou uses the moment to propose once again. Just then, his mother arrives and is surprised to see Jianqing with him. To save face, Nanzhou offers Jianqing money to play along. She reluctantly agrees. His mother is thrilled and even invites Jianqing to dinner. At dinner, Nanzhou's mother suggests that Jianqing join the family business after graduation. To push back, Jianqing deliberately behaves in ways that should leave a poor impression, but Nanzhou smooths things over. His mother takes this as proof of his deep affection. She warmly offers Jianqing homemade egg tarts, which taste exactly like the ones her mother used to make. Soon, she learns Jianqing is the daughter of her late husband's close friend, making the two of them childhood sweethearts. Later, they visit a bridal shop. Jianqing feels uncomfortable, but his mother's excitement sweeps her along. Both of them look impressive in wedding attire, and his mother insists on photos. Although Nanzhou tries to leave, his mother pretends to feel unwell and forces them to stay. They end up posing for many wedding pictures, even in traditional Chinese clothing, appearing like a true couple. Despite this, Jianqing rejects his proposal again. Enraged, Nanzhou drives off and abandons her. Back at the company, Xiao Chuan realizes they have run out of Nanzhou's medicine. She informs his mother, who is heartbroken when she learns her son is pursuing Jianqing only because of his father's wish. She reminds him that there are other ways to honor the past and begs him not to sacrifice his future. Nanzhou reluctantly agrees to reflect on his actions. Meanwhile, Jianqing discovers her brother Zixian has returned. She rushes to meet him but instead finds creditors threatening him. Zixian, overwhelmed by the crushing debt, pulls her away, determined not to let her carry the same burden. Worried about her brother's situation, Jianqing calls Nanzhou that night. She agrees to marry him under one condition, but he refuses and claims he no longer wants marriage. Confused, she rushes to his house and explains she is willing to enter a contract marriage to help her brother pay off his debts, with the promise that they will not interfere in each other's personal lives. Nanzhou grows frustrated, believing she misunderstands his health condition. In the struggle, they stumble, fall, and accidentally kiss, just as his assistant Xiao Chuan walks in and is stunned. They stay up through the night drafting a contract with 281 clauses. By morning, they seal it with a handshake. During breakfast, Nanzhou grows irritated by Jianqing's eating habits, and their argument escalates until both storm off. Later, when Jianqing misses her bus, she blocks his car to force a ride. At school, classmates whisper about her, leaving her drained. Nanzhou arrives, reminding her of their engagement, and pressures her to act like his fiancée. Later, she tries to make money by reselling books she bought on sale, but the police arrest her for selling without a permit. Nanzhou cancels a meeting to get her released, then scolds her for damaging his reputation before driving her back. At school again, Yu Xia, one of his employees, mocks Jianqing under the pretense of offering advice. Jianqing reluctantly listens, unaware that Nanzhou is monitoring from afar. Angered, he intervenes. Soon after, her teacher reprimands her, explaining that creditors have harassed the school and even damaged the dorm plumbing. Feeling guilty for putting others at risk, Jianqing decides to leave. That night, while carrying her bags, she notices someone following her. Panicked, she runs to Nanzhou's apartment building and slips inside using a code she once remembered. Later, she realizes the person trailing her was only a neighbor. Nanzhou returns home to find his apartment in disarray. Thinking there has been a break-in, he prepares to defend himself but finds Jianqing inside. Furious, he threatens to call the police. When the officers arrive, Jianqing convinces them that they are engaged. Believing her, the police scold him and leave, forcing him to let her stay. Later that night, Jianqing wakes up, eats, and sings loudly, forgetting she is a guest. Unable to sleep, Nanzhou confronts her, and their quarrel flares up again. The following morning, she packs her things to leave, but Nanzhou stops her. His OCD flares up when he notices spilled water, tire marks from her luggage, and a damp towel. He insists she clean everything before going. Disgusted by his behavior, she swears never to return and goes to stay at her best friend's house. At school, her phone rang while she was speaking with a classmate. The moment she saw Nanzhou's name, her tone shifted. He invited her to a party, and when she heard there would be payment, she agreed. She rushed over in work clothes, which displeased him, especially when a client noticed. During dinner, Director Luo repeatedly toasted Nanzhou. To ease the pressure, Xiao Chuan quietly asked Jianqing to help. She agreed, charging 500 yuan per toast, and drank on his behalf while entertaining the client. Nanzhou felt relieved, but she drank too much. At one point she even called Director Luo her brother in front of everyone. Later in the car, she clung to Nanzhou in a drunken state. Xiao Chuan explained their arrangement, leaving Nanzhou frustrated. He brought her home, where she created a scene, sang loudly, and even tried to undress. Eventually she cried herself to sleep. Nanzhou noticed her notebook filled with debts and coupons, which stirred his sympathy. She suddenly woke, demanded noodles, and then ran to the bathroom to vomit. Both ended up drenched, forcing him to carry her to bed. She clung to him, called out for her mother, and refused to let go. They eventually fell asleep side by side. Meanwhile, her brother Zixian confronted creditors and discovered Nanzhou had paid her debts. Furious, he went to Nanzhou's house and found them asleep together. He tried to attack Nanzhou, but Jianqing stopped him and claimed they were engaged. Zixian was unconvinced but left, saying he would return the next day. To cover up, Jianqing begged Nanzhou to let her stay a few more days. He agreed, but only with strict conditions, even limiting her snacks. The following morning, Jianqing brought him soup at the company and secretly snapped a photo of them together to reassure her brother. Nanzhou deleted it, but she argued it could also help with his mother. Reluctantly, he agreed. Their first outing together was at an arcade. Jianqing enjoyed the games, while Nanzhou reluctantly joined. Once involved, he became stubborn about winning a stuffed toy. She admired his persistence despite his irritation. The next morning, Jianqing woke early to prepare him breakfast. At first, the noise annoyed him, but his anger eased when he saw the heart-shaped meal she had made. Later, Zixian visited Nanzhou's home and saw the photo of them together. Jianqing realized her plan was working. When Nanzhou returned, she put on another display of sweetness. Zixian then pulled him aside, offering 10,000 yuan with a promise to repay more over time. He also gave Nanzhou a notebook detailing the years he had spent caring for his sister, asking him to treat her well. The next day, Nanzhou was driving when he noticed Jianqing leaning on another man's shoulder. The sight unsettled him, and he immediately called her to get into his car. That evening, while taking his medication, he noticed her snacks and threw them away. As he poured water for his pills, the doorbell rang, and one pill slipped into the glass. At the door, he found the noodle delivery she had ordered and sent it back. Jianqing argued with him about throwing away her things, but he insisted that everything in his house had to follow his rules. Their clash escalated, and he turned cold, ignoring her. Later, regret began to set in. When he went to check on her, he found her collapsed on the floor. He rushed her to the hospital, where doctors explained she had accidentally drunk his contaminated water. It was not serious, but he felt guilty and stayed by her side all night. When Jianqing woke, she insisted on leaving to finish her work. To stop her, Nanzhou kept her in bed and asked his assistant to bring her drawings. Yu Xia, who admired him, volunteered to take care of Jianqing at the hospital. She hinted at her feelings for him, but Jianqing dismissed her. When Nanzhou returned, Jianqing asked him to buy personal supplies. Embarrassed, he still bought the best he could find. His assistant teased him, leaving him flustered. Soon after, Jianqing's classmate Zhang Yin came to help with her drawings. Nanzhou returned and was displeased to see him. His irritation turned to concern when he noticed her forehead finished and her hand was bleeding. Jianqing brushed it off, smiling as she snapped a picture to use as proof for time off. This only fueled Nanzhou's anger. He scolded both her and Zhang Yin, then demanded Zhang Yin leave. The two men argued. Zhang Yin accused Nanzhou of neglecting Jianqing and questioned his role as her fiancé. Jianqing begged for more time to finish her work, and Nanzhou reluctantly agreed. He sat in the waiting area, watching them work together, but once they were done, he sent Zhang Yin away. Nanzhou then took her snacks again, which left her furious. Soon after, Jianqing was discharged, just as her brother Zixian came to visit. To reassure him, she cooperated with Nanzhou to act like a couple. Their closeness unsettled Zixian, but he eventually left, agreeing not to interfere again. With her brother gone, Jianqing told Nanzhou she would leave the next day. He acted calm, though he was clearly attached. She thanked him for taking care of her and promised to be more considerate. Though he appeared cold, his feelings had softened. That night, alone in his room, Nanzhou reflected on their time together. From their first meeting to their accidental kiss and her drunken antics. Every memory lingered with him. Early the next morning, Jianqing packed her bags. As she entered Nanzhou's room to leave a note, she noticed a familiar piece of paper. Just then, Miss Gu walked in, saw a photo of them together, and assumed they were a couple. Jianqing hesitated to explain, leading Miss Gu to believe they had argued and to urge her to stay. Meanwhile, Nanzhou was distracted at work, staring at a message he had drafted but could not send. When Jianqing appeared, he pretended not to care. Yet when she mentioned she might not move out, he was secretly pleased, though he kept a cold expression. To stay, Jianqing offered a trade. Nanzhou pressed her uncomfortably before finally agreeing. When she grabbed his arm in excitement, he looked disgusted. Soon after, his mother called and scolded him. He insisted he wanted to be with Jianqing. To his surprise, Miss Gu suddenly changed her tone, saying she liked Jianqing and wanted her as a daughter-in-law. She demanded that he apologize sincerely. Later, Jianqing cooked a full table of dishes to thank Nanzhou and Xiao Chuan. Nanzhou dismissed her effort as casual, which upset her. Xiao Chuan teased her, hinted she should repay properly, and pushed them closer on purpose. That evening, Jianqing thought about the letter she had seen in Nanzhou's room. It carried the same symbol as a letter she once received with her scholarship, making her suspect he had supported her for years. When she asked him, he quickly avoided the topic. Since she needed an internship, he offered her a job as his assistant, replacing Xiao Chuan, but she refused. Soon after, Xiao Chuan became sick from food poisoning, and Jianqing stepped in as a temporary assistant. Nanzhou told her to wake him early for an important meeting, but she overslept. In a panic, she rushed to his room, dragged him out, and drove recklessly. On the way, she stopped for breakfast, which irritated him, and they lost more time when his car was blocked. With no choice, she pulled him onto an electric scooter. After a series of setbacks, they finally arrived at the company. At the office, Yuxia offered to help, but Nanzhou insisted Jianqing handle everything alone. While working, she saw how focused and serious he was. For the first time, she began to admire him. When she learned that making animated films had been his childhood dream, her respect for him grew even more. Back at school, Jianqing felt exhausted, but when her teacher praised her drawings and encouraged her to enter a competition, she found new motivation. Soon after, Nanzhou called, and she quickly brought him food. Her attentiveness made him wonder if she might have feelings for him. That night, he noticed her comics and rough sketches. He realized the work he once thought was plagiarism was actually her original creation. When she caught him looking at her computer, she was upset, but later chose to forgive him. From that moment, their relationship began to improve as they recognized each other's strengths. Jianqing grew closer to him in small ways, sometimes sharing instant noodles or engaging in playful arguments. These moments slowly brought them together. The next morning, Jianqing went to work at his company. The CEO tried to make things difficult for her, but she stood her ground and even embarrassed him in front of clients.
顾总，你的衣服。
During a break, Yuxia arrived with Nanzhou's favorite food. While pretending to be helpful, she subtly belittled Jianqing and showed him an invitation to an award ceremony, suggesting he should bring a companion. Later, as Nanzhou was leaving, he became surrounded by people, and his fear of crowds returned. Distressed, he tried calling Jianqing, but she was with her mentor and did not answer. He then called Yuxia before fainting. After resting at home and taking medicine, he recovered. When Jianqing called, Yuxia turned off his phone to block her. That night, Jianqing returned late and found Nanzhou in a foul mood. He ordered her to attend the award ceremony with him and told her to get the details from Yuxia. Meanwhile, Yuxia prepared a glamorous dress for herself but misled Jianqing, telling her to dress casually. At the ceremony, Jianqing realized too late that everyone else was in formal wear. Nanzhou was displeased when he saw her, and Yuxia fueled the tension by criticizing her. Embarrassed, Jianqing quietly left, while Yuxia prepared to take her place and accept the award. When the host announced the CEO's fiancée, Jianqing appeared in a stunning gown that immediately drew the crowd's attention. Yuxia tried to provoke her, but Jianqing confidently took the stage. She explained why she was accepting the award, praised Nanzhou's dedication, and described the effort behind the product. Her lively and witty speech won over the audience and deeply moved Nanzhou. Afterward, reporters and investors surrounded her. In the bathroom, Yuxia confronted her again and revealed her hostility by tearing the tag from her dress. Later, in the resting room, Jianqing regretted what had happened. Since she could not return the gown, Nanzhou agreed to cover the cost. Relieved, she leaned on him for comfort. While working at the company, Jianqing used him as a model for her drawings and became so absorbed that she nearly forgot an important client meeting. They rushed downstairs, only to find his car still in service and no taxis available. She pulled him toward the bus, but he resisted because of his fear of crowds. To get him on board, Jianqing disguised him with sunglasses and headphones, pretending he was blind so people would give them space. On the bus, passengers pitied him, and she exaggerated their story, saying she worked day and night to support him. During the ride, she realized she had forgotten the USB drive with the documents and quickly asked a friend to bring it. They eventually made it to the meeting. While she was distracted, Nanzhou found a cartoon she had drawn of him as a villain. The clients grew uneasy. Jianqing quickly explained that the characters were based on her and Nanzhou, childhood sweethearts who had reunited. She added a romantic proposal to make the story more appealing. The presentation won over the clients and secured the contract. Pleased with her contribution, Jianqing asked for a share of the bonus. Nanzhou reminded her of her mistakes and dismissed her request. Soon after, Xiaochuan returned from illness, ending her role as temporary assistant. That evening, Jianqing ordered a large amount of food. Nanzhou allowed it, but told her to clean up afterward. She stayed up late, carefully tidying everything. The next morning, Nanzhou noticed his jade pendant was missing. When he learned Jianqing had thrown it away, he was furious. Later, she found out from his assistant that it was a keepsake from his late brother. Feeling guilty, she dug through the trash until she found it. She placed it back on the table with a note of apology. Seeing this, Nanzhou realized he had been too harsh. Meanwhile, Jianqing worked overtime with Zhang Yin and turned off her phone. Nanzhou misunderstood, assumed she was upset with him, and waited all night for her return. The next day, his assistant informed him that she had posted photos on social media showing she was with Zhang Yin. Jealous, Nanzhou ordered the company not to mention her again. Later, Jianqing received payment for her comics. She transferred the money to Nanzhou and even added an extra 500 yuan, leaving him puzzled about her intentions. That same night, still trying to make sense of her actions, Nanzhou texted Jianqing, asking if they could cancel their contract and be together. Convinced she liked him, he believed she would agree. However, when he went to the living room, he saw she had already returned but had not checked her phone. When he brought up the subject, she denied ever liking him, and he realized he had misunderstood her feelings. Remembering the message he had sent, Nanzhou rushed to her room to delete it from her phone. She caught him holding it, and after a brief struggle, they both fell onto the bed. Their eyes met, and for a moment he thought about kissing her. She quickly pulled her phone back and checked the screen. Embarrassed, he claimed it was a business mistake, but she teased him, making him even more uncomfortable. The next day, the atmosphere between them was tense. Jianqing received news that her comic had been chosen as an outstanding work. Excited, she pulled Nanzhou over to celebrate, but he responded coldly and warned her to keep her distance. She insisted she had no feelings for him, which only fueled his anger. Later, while she was with Zhang Yin, Nanzhou appeared, jealous. He dragged her into his car and took her to the supermarket, where he bought all her favorite snacks. Thrilled, she thanked him warmly, and his mood softened. That evening, she prepared a large meal, creating a homely atmosphere that briefly eased the tension between them. Still, Nanzhou grew suspicious of her sudden kindness, unsure if it came from the contract or her real emotions. He pressed her, asking if she felt anything when he leaned close. She firmly denied it, then asked if he liked her. He angrily denied it and criticized her flaws. Annoyed, she refused to eat, while he enjoyed the meal alone. Their unusual cohabitation carried on. The next morning, Jianqing received a call from Xiao Chuan, who warned her to check on Nanzhou in case he had overdosed on his medicine again. Alarmed, she rushed to the bathroom, only to find him calmly styling his hair in front of the mirror. Shocked, she screamed and tried to run away. Still shaken, Jianqing called Xiao Chuan afterward and learned that Nanzhou had been under heavy stress, relying on medication to cope. Xiao Chuan suggested she convince him to see a psychiatrist. Jianqing drove him to the hospital, but he refused to get out of the car. To force him, she created a scene, loudly accusing him of domestic violence in front of strangers. A crowd gathered, triggering his fear of crowds. Seeing him panic, Jianqing held his face and calmed him until everyone dispersed. Moved by her care, he reluctantly agreed to begin therapy. During the session, he remained tense, tapping his fingers. The psychiatrist remarked that he was fortunate to have such a caring girlfriend. His expression softened, and the therapy continued. Soon, a memory surfaced from his childhood. He recalled how his brother had picked up the jade pendant and was then violently attacked. Overcome with distress, he reacted strongly. Jianqing rushed in, called his name, and pulled him back. Startled, he opened his eyes and clung to her, finding comfort in her arms. On the way home, he stayed silent. Jianqing tried to ease the mood, and though he did not respond, a faint smile appeared on his face. That same day, Jianqing received news that a company was interested in investing in her animated film. Excited, she went to the meeting, only to discover that the investor was HQ Company. Persuaded by Zi Ming, the director considered pulling funds from Nanzhou's project. Jianqing overheard and tried to argue, but the negotiation failed. They mocked her and told her to ask Nanzhou about his brother, who had been trampled 15 years earlier. Later, she searched online and discovered the story was true. It was also the anniversary of his brother's death. When she returned home, Nanzhou was missing. Xiao Chuan called, saying he had taken all his medicine and disappeared. Jianqing eventually found him on the rooftop, distressed. To lighten the mood, she brought crayfish and began eating with enthusiasm, even feeding him some. Though he pretended to dislike them, he eventually put on gloves, peeled one, and gave it to her. His awkward but sincere effort made her laugh. She realized it had been a long time since anyone had done something like that for her. When she tried to leave, she discovered the rooftop door was locked. Nanzhou had the key but pretended otherwise, claiming his phone was dead and that they would need to wait for the housekeeper in the morning. This left her no choice but to stay with him. They sat together under the stars, talking quietly until Jianqing drifted off to sleep. Nanzhou gently covered her with his coat and watched over her in silence. When she woke, she found the key in his pocket and realized he had lied to keep her there. Though childish, the gesture made her smile. Wanting to return the kindness, she brewed him lavender tea to help him rest, and for the first time in a long while, he felt a quiet warmth in his heart. The next morning, Jianqing prepared breakfast. After his shower, Nanzhou pulled her close with a towel, teasing her. She pushed him away and told him to get dressed before eating. At work, Jianqing was scolded by her boss and then fired. Frustrated, she left and decided with Zhang Yin to enter an online comic contest. When Nanzhou learned she lost her job because of him, he felt guilty and checked the contest. He soon discovered fraudulent voting. Jianqing also realized her opponent was cheating. She angrily called Zhang Yin, while Nanzhou contacted the organizers to re-examine the results. The next day, Jianqing heard from a colleague that Nanzhou had stepped in to protect her. Many employees in the company even began voting for her. Excited, she tried to show off in front of him, but he ignored her.
1、5、7、8。
Later, she brought him tea to thank him. He told her he was only making things fair and reminded her she was half of his company. He admitted she had lost her job because of him, and though her work deserved recognition, cheating had ruined her chances. When she called him a friend, his attitude changed immediately. Meanwhile, Nanzhou's mother learned he had sold part of the company and began worrying about financial problems. He avoided her questions. Yuxia then told Miss Gu that investors had left because of Jianqing and hinted at the contract marriage. His mother became suspicious and went directly to Jianqing for answers. Later, she stayed late at their place and asked pointed questions about whether Jianqing and Nanzhou shared a room. Jianqing claimed they did. After she left, Nanzhou scolded Jianqing for not realizing how clever his mother could be. That night, Jianqing suggested that one of them sleep on the bed and the other on the floor. Feeling guilty, Nanzhou let her take the bed. As he lay awake on the floor, he grew jealous when she casually mentioned having shared a room with Zhang Yin before. Restless, he watched her as she slept and found her unexpectedly cute. When her foot slipped out from under the blanket, he tried to cover her, but she kicked him by accident. She woke, tried to help, and fell on top of him. Their closeness created an awkward tension, and she quickly moved away, telling him to take the bed instead. He argued that it was big enough for both, and in the end, they lay back to back, uneasy yet together. The following morning, Nanzhou's mother woke them for breakfast. Jianqing was startled to see raw eggs on the table, but Nanzhou quietly told her to endure it for his mother's sake. He tried to slip away for work, but Jianqing stopped him and made him eat with her. Once he escaped, she was left to face his mother alone. During breakfast, his mother added unusual ingredients to the eggs, which Jianqing could not bring herself to eat. Later, she took Jianqing shopping and filled the cart with baby clothes, clearly hinting at wanting a grandchild. Jianqing tried to change the subject by suggesting they buy food instead, but even then, his mother chose products meant for pregnant women. At checkout, she handed Jianqing Nanzhou's card. Embarrassed, Jianqing realized she did not know the password and had to call him. That evening, his mother cooked a large dinner. When Jianqing tried to help clean, she was told to rest with Nanzhou instead. Jianqing used the chance to ask him to keep his mother around longer so she could focus on writing. Later, his mother spoke to him about both his love life and company finances. Irritated, he tried to distract her, but she cleverly played a romantic movie to make him sit next to Jianqing. That night, Jianqing fell asleep sprawled across the bed. Nanzhou tried resting in the corner, but she kicked him off. When he climbed back, she stirred and almost fell on top of him. The awkward moment ended with them lying back to back in silence. The next day, Jianqing went to a hotel to help her senior pretend to be his girlfriend in front of his ex. At the same time, Nanzhou was there with Yuxia for his birthday dinner. His assistant spotted Jianqing and loudly called her name. Nanzhou rushed over, furious, and dragged her away, humiliated by the scene. She explained she had done it for money, but he scolded her for not respecting herself. They argued, and she left in tears. Though upset, he still took Yuxia home. When she hinted at becoming his fiancée, he rejected her. Back at home, his mother confronted him about Jianqing working odd jobs and pressed him about their contract marriage. Suspecting it had to do with his father's will, she demanded honesty. He admitted he liked Jian Qing.
我喜欢他。
His mother called him childish for forcing a contract, but then sat with him to come up with a proper plan to win her over. Later, his mother and Miss Gu spoke with Jian Qing. When asked what she liked about Nanzhou, Jian Qing replied only that he was handsome and not a bad person. His mother quickly praised him, saying that while he appeared strict, he was thoughtful when it mattered. She even shared childhood stories that left him blushing. That night, Jian Qing ignored him after her shower. He wanted to explain, but she refused to listen. When he stepped out for water, his mother teased him, asking if he had been kicked out. She noted she had never seen him so considerate and told him to stop hiding his feelings. Unable to sleep, Jian Qing went outside, where Nanzhou apologized. He promised to buy her snacks for a month if she stopped pretending to be other men's girlfriends. He explained that he was not ashamed of her, only worried she might get hurt. Relieved, she agreed and told him to return to bed, finally ending their fight. The next morning, Nanzhou's mother prepared breakfast before leaving, but not without a note reminding Jian Qing to notice more of his good qualities. Soon after, Jian Qing received exciting news that her animated film had advanced in the competition. Overjoyed, she jumped on Nanzhou to celebrate. On the day of the competition, Jian Qing walked onto the stage but was immediately met with insults and trash being thrown at her. The audience accused her of plagiarism. Nanzhou, despite his fear of crowds, stepped in to shield her. Overwhelmed, she broke down in tears and hugged him. Behind the incident was Yu Xia, who felt pleased with her scheme. Shaken, Jian Qing locked herself in her room. She pretended to be fine when others checked on her but later cried quietly while watching a horror movie. Nanzhou chose to leave her alone. The next day, he brought her snail noodle soup and milk with sugar. She pretended to scold him but still enjoyed it. Later that night, Nanzhou returned home to find her watching another horror film. Remembering what her friend had told him, he realized she was using the movies as an excuse to cry. He sat beside her, and his reactions to the film made her laugh. For the first time, she opened up about her struggles, admitting she had been too focused on success and had blamed herself for everything. After letting it out, she regained her confidence. She leaned on his shoulder, grateful that he had been there when she was at her lowest. The next day, someone shoved Jian Qing, and Nanzhou rushed to protect her, falling and hitting his head. Although it was not serious, she worried about him. Soon after, Yu Xia arrived, clung to him, and acted as if she were his girlfriend, even ordering Jian Qing around. Both women tried to serve him fruit, creating an awkward atmosphere. Frustrated, Jian Qing stormed off, but she quickly returned, realizing she should not avoid her responsibilities. Her anger grew when she saw Yu Xia feeding him. Only after Yu Xia finally left did Nanzhou feel relieved. Later, Jian Qing remembered her unfinished designs and called Zhang Yin to work with her. Nanzhou, jealous, interrupted them and insisted she buy him snacks instead. While she was out, his assistant uncovered the real culprit who had plagiarized Jian Qing's script and confronted them in private. When Jian Qing returned, she found Nanzhou missing. He called her, asking her to wait for him. But when he arrived home, he saw Zhang Yin holding her hand, about to confess his feelings. Enraged, Nanzhou shoved him away and declared Jian Qing his fiancée. Zhang Yin admitted he already knew about their contract marriage. Later, Jian Qing apologized to Nanzhou, who asked if she disliked him. When she reassured him she did not, he was relieved and added a new clause to their contract: she was not allowed to live with another man. Soon after, a video surfaced proving Jian Qing had never plagiarized. Believing Nanzhou was behind it, she brought him fruit to thank him. When he teasingly asked how she would repay him and moved closer, she panicked, nearly slipped down the stairs, and was caught in his arms. With her face burning, she pulled away and ran off in embarrassment. The following day, still flustered from their encounter, Jian Qing planned to meet Zhang Yin. When Nanzhou learned of it, he panicked and pretended to be sick. He faked shortness of breath and collapsed, forcing Jian Qing to care for him. Following Xiao Chuan's instructions, she helped him while Nanzhou secretly enjoyed the attention. He hugged her and pretended to fall asleep, and as she quietly admired him, she realized with embarrassment that he was faking.
好玩吗?
From then on, her heart raced whenever she saw him. Not long after, Nanzhou's company secured new investment, and he arranged a celebration. When Jian Qing arrived, the employees jokingly called her boss lady. Yu Xia grew jealous and tried to get his attention by serving him food. In response, Jianqing teased him by feeding him peppers and ginger, forcing him to eat them in front of everyone. Yuxia then tried to push her aside by asking her to take photos, but Nanzhou made sure she was included in the company group picture, placing his arm around her. After dinner, the group wanted to go to a bar, but Jianqing suggested watching the free water show nearby. Nanzhou teased her for being stingy, yet he quietly watched her enjoy the performance and was captivated. He tried several times to confess his feelings, but the noise drowned out his words. Even after practicing the confession, he still could not bring himself to say it. The following night, he set up a fountain surprise for her in the park, but the system malfunctioned and drenched her. Believing it was a prank, Jianqing stormed off. When he tried to explain, he accidentally spilled more water on her. Frustrated, she splashed water back at him, leaving him disheartened. Later, Nanzhou overheard Jianqing mention going camping with another man. Overcome with jealousy, he declared a company outing and organized a picnic just so he could join her. Zhang Yin quickly realized his true motive. The two rivals bickered constantly, especially over food. Both claimed to protect Jianqing by taking dishes away from her, leaving her with almost nothing to eat. That evening, Zhang Yin suggested a game. Nanzhou kept losing and was forced to drink. Even after the others left, the two men continued drinking in front of Jianqing like quarrelsome children. She was disgusted by their behavior. When she finally managed to get Nanzhou back to the tent, he drunkenly confessed his love.
我喜欢你。
Before she could respond, he collapsed, then suddenly sat up and kissed her. Shocked, Jianqing realized he was too drunk to understand what he was doing, leaving her frustrated and confused. The next day, Nanzhou tried to speak with her, but Jianqing ignored him and left in the company car with Zhang Yin. Believing she was avoiding him, he brought up the night before. When she reminded him she had helped him back to the tent, he brushed it off, thanked her, and claimed he did not remember anything. Hurt by his words, Jianqing walked away. On the way home, Xiao Chuan asked Nanzhou what had really happened. Nanzhou recalled kissing Jianqing while drunk and panicked. Xiao Chuan advised him to explain it as a drunken mistake and to prove he was still a gentleman. At home, Jianqing admitted to herself that she had developed feelings for him, though she was unsure of his. Hoping to win his heart, she even bought an online course. Following the advice, she dressed up, cooked a meal, and waited. When Nanzhou came home, he went straight to his room. She was disappointed, not knowing he had gone out earlier to buy a special ring for a proposal. At dinner, he finally noticed her makeup but misinterpreted it. Her attempts at flirting failed, leaving her embarrassed. She tried more tips from the course, but Nanzhou either ignored them or unintentionally ruined the moment. Frustrated, she bought the next level of the course, determined to try again. Meanwhile, Nanzhou secretly prepared a proposal with a cake and a hidden ring. When the power went out, Jianqing left the house, and he mistakenly assumed she had gone to meet Zhang Yin. Angry, he ate the cake along with the ring.
尤其是写周建清专属的吃的。
Later, when Jianqing asked why he had kissed her during the camping trip, he was busy trying to throw up the ring. She misunderstood, believing he was disgusted by her. The following day, Nanzhou tried again. He set up a romantic dinner and nervously admitted he would take responsibility for what had happened. Unable to confess his love properly, he brought out the ring. Before he could speak, Jianqing, tired of waiting, confessed first and kissed him. The next morning, Jianqing woke up next to him and panicked. He teased her and declared they were officially dating. She shyly kissed him in return, marking the start of their relationship. On their first day as a couple, Jianqing tried new lipstick while Nanzhou, inexperienced in love, attempted to make breakfast but nearly caused a mess. She stepped in to help, and before leaving for work, he kissed her several times, unable to hide his happiness. From then on, their romance grew sweeter. Nanzhou often showed signs of jealousy, which Jianqing found amusing. Together, they even created playful rules to keep their relationship fun and loving. The next day, they went on their first date, but Nanzhou spent most of the time handling work on his phone. He did not even take a picture with Jianqing, which left her annoyed. Back at home, he continued working on his phone, and she grew frustrated and went to bed. After finishing his tasks, Nanzhou realized his mistake. He began taking care of her attentively. When she said her stomach hurt, he brought warm water, carried her to bed, soaked her feet, and dried her hair. He apologized for neglecting her and promised to do better. She smiled and forgave him. The following day, he took her on another date. When she felt cold, he gave her his jacket. She offered to hug him if he was cold, and he pretended to shiver so she would embrace him. She expected a kiss, but he was only teasing. Embarrassed, she ran away. Wanting to make it up to her, Nanzhou prepared a romantic dinner. Jianqing cancelled and went to meet another man for work instead. When Nanzhou saw her laughing with him, jealousy took over. She explained it was work, but he remained upset. At the office, Jianqing met her idol, a Japanese manga artist. He invited her to dinner and gave her a sign drawing. She was thrilled, but Nanzhou thought they were too close. In his frustration, he accidentally spilled wine on the drawing. Jianqing was furious, feeling he never respected her feelings, and ran away from home. Panicked, Nanzhou kept texting her. Instead of apologizing, he sent her a gift card, then later several discount deals, thinking it would cheer her up. This only made her angrier. Xiao Chuan advised him to apologize sincerely and bring chocolate, but Nanzhou struggled to choose the right kind. Instead, he went directly to Jianqing's idol and asked him to redraw the ruined sketch. At first the artist refused, but after watching Nanzhou reenact his fight with Jianqing, he agreed. Nanzhou brought the new drawing to Jianqing and apologized. She was overjoyed and forgave him. Back at home, he tried to impress her with a lobster dish, pretending he had cooked it. When he accidentally admitted it was takeout, Jianqing caught him. She found his clumsy effort endearing and kissed him. The two made up and were happy again. The next day, Jianqing took Nanzhou to a therapist. At first he refused, but when she pretended to be upset, he reluctantly agreed. The doctor said he was making progress, but to fully recover he needed to confront the root cause of his trauma. Since Nanzhou trusted Jianqing, she was the best person to help him. Back at home, Nanzhou finally opened up. He shared his painful past and admitted that he had blamed himself for hurting his brother. The guilt had haunted him for years. Jianqing understood and urged him to let go, though it was not easy for him. As he held a crystal, she accidentally broke it and discovered her childhood signature inside. She realized she had given it to him long ago and felt guilty. Nanzhou told her that if she wanted to take responsibility, then she should stay by his side and help him heal. Wanting to push him forward, Jianqing took him to a playground to face his fear of crowds. She disguised him with sunglasses and funny headphones before dragging him to the slide. Children teased him, and she playfully pushed him down before jumping after him. They were embarrassed when the kids caught them, but soon Nanzhou began playing along. For the first time, he relaxed, and her plan succeeded. Meanwhile, Ziming continued plotting against him. He convinced investors to pull out of StarCloud, Nanzhou's animation company. Confident in Nanzhou's fear of crowds, Ziming challenged him to defend the company at the shareholder meeting. To his surprise, Nanzhou accepted. The night before the meeting, Nanzhou looked at a photo of himself and his brother. With Jianqing by his side, he began to let go of the past and hoped his brother would forgive him. The next day, Jianqing gave him sunglasses for confidence. With her support, he entered the meeting and delivered a powerful speech. The shareholders chose to back StarCloud. Afterward, Ziming revealed to Yu Xia why Nanzhou had married Jianqing. His father had left 5% of his shares to a close friend. By marrying Jianqing, Nanzhou secured access to them, making him the majority shareholder of the Gu Corporation. Afraid of his growing influence, Ziming suggested they work together to break the couple apart. On Valentine's Day, Jianqing prepared a fancy dinner, but Nanzhou was late. When she called, Yu Xia answered his phone. Hearing running water in the background, Jianqing immediately suspected something was wrong. In reality, Nanzhou was overwhelmed. Yu Xia's film was accused of plagiarism, and he spent the night dealing with contracts and penalties. At the same time, Jianqing faced harassment during a job interview. Upset, she ran out and called Nanzhou, but he said he was in a meeting and hung up. Later, Yu Xia pretended to be sick, and Nanzhou took her to the hospital, even letting her sit in the passenger seat. Before leaving, she deliberately left something behind. That night, Nanzhou saw Jianqing walking and told her to get in the car. When she opened the door, she noticed a ribbon from another woman on the seat. Furious, she lost her temper. They argued. Jianqing accused him of being absent when she needed him, yet spending the entire day with someone else. Their relationship grew tense. Nanzhou told her to stop fighting, but she stormed off. Later, she broke down in tears at her best friend's place. After receiving advice, she decided she would confront him directly the next day. The next morning, Jianqing went to Nanzhou's office and found him asleep over a pile of documents. Seeing his exhaustion, she felt sorry for him and decided to forgive him. Not long after, Nanzhou received a lawyer's letter demanding compensation so high that he was forced to sell his house. He lied to Jianqing, saying he was only moving to be closer to work, and told her to stay with a friend for a few days. Suspicious, she agreed but kept her thoughts to herself. When she returned to move her things, she saw Yu Xia at his house. Yu Xia mocked her and questioned her place as Nanzhou's girlfriend. To provoke her, she threw down a box of photos. Jian Qing pushed her in anger, and Yu Xia pretended to fall. When Nanzhou arrived, he scolded Jian Qing, believing Yu Xia was only helping him pack. Feeling wronged, Jian Qing walked away in disappointment. Their misunderstandings deepened. Soon after, Ziming revealed that Nanzhou had married Jian Qing only to gain shares from his father's will. Feeling betrayed, Jian Qing tried to contact him, but he avoided her. Hurt, she ended their contract marriage by text. Nanzhou was devastated. Yu Xia tried to take advantage of the situation, but when he discovered she had destroyed important documents, he fired her. The next morning, Jian Qing learned that her comic would be adapted into an animated film. At the company, she overheard that Nanzhou had sold his house to pay debts. Realizing what he had endured, she felt guilty and requested that he lead her animation project. When they met again, both acted distant. Nanzhou tried to approach her, but she avoided him. Following Xiao Chuan's advice, he later invited her to dinner and ordered all her favorite dishes. She was touched until she asked about the letter she had sent. He looked confused, not knowing what she meant. Upset, she left. Only later did he find the letter and realize there had been a huge misunderstanding about her shares. Jian Qing then called to say his mother was looking for her. Nanzhou asked her to pretend they were still together, and she agreed. His mother saw them arguing and quietly understood the truth. The next day, his mother invited them on a hot springs trip. She even arranged a romantic room. Jian Qing avoided being alone with Nanzhou by spending time with his mother. At the hot springs, she finally learned that his mother had known about their situation all along. She also discovered the truth about the heavy burden Nanzhou had carried since his brother's death. That night at the office, Nanzhou noticed Jian Qing asleep at her desk. Worried she might be cold, he draped his jacket over her and gently kissed her forehead. When she stirred awake, he grew embarrassed and quickly insisted on taking her home. The atmosphere between them remained uneasy. He reached for her hand, but Jian Qing was not ready to forgive him completely. She admitted she still loved him but needed time, then walked away. Later, Nanzhou learned she would be traveling to Yanqing for an animation conference. Without hesitation, he booked a flight to follow her. At the event, Jian Qing watched fireworks with Zhang Yin. When Nanzhou arrived, he saw Zhang Yin put an arm around her. Shocked, he feared he had lost her. But Jian Qing pushed Zhang Yin away and tried to find Nanzhou, realizing she could not live without him. She searched the crowd, and just when she began to lose hope, he appeared through a cluster of balloons. There, he confessed his love. Jian Qing ran into his arms and accepted his proposal as the crowd cheered. Under a sky decorated with lavender flowers, Nanzhou knelt in a suit and asked her to marry him. Jian Qing joyfully agreed. Their love became a promise to stand together, to trust each other, and to share a future. For Jian Qing, she had finally found someone who cherished her, and with him, a place she could call home. So the moral of the story is, if a rich guy won't stop proposing, just keep stomping on his foot until he finally learns respect.